channel, sports fans. Okay, let's get into this one right here. Well, sometimes we talk about LeBron James saying and doing stupid stuff. We talk about his fans doing trigger bait just to make money. They're not really fans of LeBron James, right? I keep trying to tell you guys, the Shannon Sharps, the Gilbert Arenas, the Nick Wrights, the FYF, and all these flunkies out here, they are not fans of LeBron James. And they might be fans of his, his persona, as far as, him being in the closet fruit basket, something like that. But as far as his game, no, they're not a fan of the LeBron James game. No way. What they're fans of is making money off of trigger bait. That's it. Making money off of trigger bait. So that's what they like to do in order to make money, and they act like they're really LeBron James fans. But we know what trigger bait is. Say a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't make any sense, basically to piss people off. And once you get their reaction, you win, because they keep coming back. So and then also you have a lot of dumb people who, I won't call them dumb, but a lot of people do appreciate LeBron James as a basketball player, appreciates his game, and they're not really in tune with what failing is, doing it the wrong way, cheating, and greatness is, and playing, having skills on a high level, whether it's rebounding, playing defense, offense, leadership. They don't know these things because they had to lower the standard for the rest of these guys in the 210s, in the 2020s. I would say since the 215s. Since the 215s, just sort of look like those things aren't really there to be accepted to his fans. So like I said, they don't know about this stuff. His fans don't know of these things, right? Because Nick Wright, Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, all these guys don't teach it. They don't say this is what you're supposed to have in order to be this or be that, or have this or have that. So they don't know. So I don't exactly call them dumb. But sometimes you do have to, stand on your own 2 feet and, grab your own nuts and think for yourself. That's just how it is. You can't have it no other way. You know what I'm saying? Just because you think you don't know something, or you gotta use some common sense. But a lot of times, like I said, these things happen. We just think, of his flunkies saying all this stuff that ruined the game. And I think I done did a couple videos about, just the image of LeBron James has ruined the NBA, and the way he's carried himself, the way, all this stuff. But the real fact is, if you want to think about from when LeBron James came into the league and before he went to Miami, that really ruined the NBA, because they invested so much on this guy, and he basically pooped himself time and time and time again, and never proved nothing. Never proved nothing but a regular season record. That's it. He proved absolutely nothing. He didn't. And I don't want to hear about him going to the finals, because he proved nothing. You beat 250-win teams, 500 teams, and then you beat Detroit without Ben Wallace and without their head coach. So that's who you beat. Okay? You was second in the Eastern Conference. So he didn't do nothing amazing if he was a number 2 seed, beating that Detroit team. But when we think about the overall picture, this guy, the damage was already done. From the day he came into the league, the first year he came into the league, until he went to Miami. It didn't really take, when you look at it, for him to have ruined the image of the NBA, and him being one of the biggest failures of all time, to go to Miami. We knew this before he went to Miami. Miami, and thereon, was just the grand finale. That shit was just the grand finale, folks. That was the grand finale. Why do they even talk about this guy to this day? Or since he went to the Lakers? It just shows you how, let me think of the word. I wouldn't say desperate. It could be desperate. But how weak the NBA had really fallen apart. That they would still promote this guy after, when he was coming to the Lakers. This is crazy. But when we think about this, and him going, and him being the so-called anointed one, the greatest thing coming into the NBA, the most expectations, the most hype. Oh, wow. Playing academy school kids, right? Rich kids. Don't forget, LeBron James was rich ever since he was in 5th grade or grew up upper middle class. Upper middle class. His new mother, since 5th grade, worked in the Congress as a congressperson in Cleveland. I don't know if she was a congressperson. I know she worked in the Congress building. Nevertheless, with these people that took LeBron James off the street since he was in the 5th grade and paid for him to go to all these expensive ass Catholic schools. What do you think? Right? These schools, $20,000, $30,000 a year. So from 5th, 6th grade until he graduated high school. Wow. That's crazy. If you want to believe the dumb story that, these people want to do this for a 5th grader. Remember, this wasn't a kid that was already in high school. And, you could maybe vouch for saying somebody gave up their kid and somebody took somebody's kid off their hands because they could see the future potential for a developing young man. This was a kid in 5th grade. We're told this story that these people, like the way LeBron James ran in 5th grade, folks. So they took him off his mom's hands. So either the whole LeBron James story is a fraud, or as far as his mama not even raising him at all, which would tie into the fact that maybe he was adopted from the beginning, because she got pregnant when she was like, I was supposed to say like 16 or something like that, 15, 16. So she might have gave him up for adoption even before that, folks. And just kept tabs with him. I know of people who did that, right? They adopted a kid, and you have to pay the mother. These days, well, you this is what you can do. If that's what you want to do, you could literally sell your baby. So you can sell your baby, and the mom gets money, plus on top of that, the agency for doing it too. The agency gets money or whatever like that. So the adoption parents buys the child, but there's an option that the mother can keep in touch with her child. That's if the new parents, adopting parents, want that. Now those options are out there, and they happen every day. As far as the mother staying in contact, so I'm thinking that's more of a credible story of him either being adopted by these people, or him being adopted and his mom kept in contact. That sounds like a better story than the story that they're trying to tell us. You know what I'm saying? That somebody is just going to come along and just see LeBron James in the 5th grade running down the streets and want to take LeBron James off his mom's hands because he can run fast down the street. If that's the story they're giving us, that story sounds more creepier than anything. You know what I'm saying? It sounds creepier. I'm not going to just hand my kid over to somebody I don't know. That sounds creepy. So let's get back into the story. All the hype, all the expectations, all this stuff dunking on rich academy school kids. Because like I said, LeBron James grew up privileged. And I don't mean to get off this video again, but I don't know what this guy's channel is, called something 360. Oh, I forget what his channel is. And I don't even watch it. It just came up on my feed. And this guy looks like Jalen Hurts. I thought this guy was Jalen Hurts. I'm trying to tell you, he looks just like a spitting image of Jalen Hurts. Let me see if I can find this. But in the video I'm watching, he's got LeBron James doing an interview, right? And I guess he does just like a whole bunch of different athletes. I think Curry was on one of them. I can't find it. Whatever. And anyway, in the interview, is it 360 Zone or something? I forget what it's called. I said, well, I'm not even going to watch what this fool going to talk about because he's going to say a whole bunch of dumb stuff. And this guy always starts out cussing. Like, cussing? Like, are you serious? Why do you always start out cussing? And he always got to cuss all the time. Whatever. Anyways. And, the whole, and I'm going to get to my point. But, if you listen to the interview of LeBron James, I'm not going to say he's not well-spoken because he can speak. And I'm not the best, well-spoken guy myself. I'm not trying to beat him up on that or anything like that. But I will say, because everybody has a different persona. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can't talk and, be like everybody else and have the same gestures, the same aura, the same everything. So I'm not beating him up on the way he speaks. We don't really know the way he speaks, really, because he I think for the most part, he puts on the biggest, facade. He always goes into character, from what I know. When I listen to Kobe, and Kobe describes LeBron James, Kobe don't describe LeBron James as a guy we know. Just put it that way. He describes LeBron James as a funny guy, the funniest guy in the room. He describes him as everybody just wants to be liked, a crazy character. In what else? He said something else, but I don't think we really get the real LeBron James. I think we get a guy that puts on a mask because that's the mask he has to put on to play that character, to get everybody to hate him. Because I'm not saying he's not arrogant or nothing like that, but a lot of these rich people or these people that grow up with money, they're arrogant and they're kind of snooty and stuff like that. So LeBron James wouldn't be the first one, but the way Kobe describes him is a totally different person. I mean, it's hard for a lot of you guys to believe, but if you take, for instance, him going to Miami, now he's got to play the villain. He never liked to play the villain or the bad guy, according to Kobe. He wanted everybody to like him. He don't have that villain type of mentality. I would say it would be close. Something as far as he likes to agitate people. But at the same time, he from what Kobe says, he still likes to be the funny guy. But you can agitate people and irritate people trying to act funny all the time at the same time, right? What you might think is funny might not be funny to everybody else. You coming out and dancing and having fun when you was at Cleveland the first time and then walking out when you lose. Now, again, when he speaks, we don't really know if that's the LeBron James, because to me, I think he's been putting on this hate me facade for a long time by saying the wrong things and doing the wrong things. I'm gonna do this, and I don't care who don't like it. Guess what? There's nobody in the game better than me. Even if I lose as a team. I lose as a team. But you can't really say there's another player in the league better than me. You really couldn't say that back in the day. I mean, especially, when he got to about 2006, 2007, 2008, Kobe, that's it. There was no better player than LeBron James in the league. And I'm not trying to prop LeBron James up for that. That just goes to show you what kind of league you're in. And I'm not trying to say LeBron James wasn't a great player or not an all-time great. But the fact is, because I put up Michael Jordan's first 7 years in the league versus LeBron James' first 7 before he went to Miami. And it was good for both of them. It was incredible numbers. Now, I know they cut out defense, but I'm just saying, that's for his era. For his era, he was the best in the league besides Kobe. I don't really know who you could say was better than Kobe and LeBron James. I just don't. And I don't even think LeBron James, he wouldn't never be second best in the 90s. He just wouldn't. Or the 80s. He just wouldn't. If he played that style of basketball, he just wouldn't. Now, to me, I think in the 90s, I think they would be all over him. They would teach him how to play different and teach him how to do different things as a basketball player. If he couldn't do those things, he wouldn't make it far. That's just how the league was played back then. That's why I say it's hard to compare eras, right? They always, people want to use Michael Jordan. Oh, Michael Jordan will score this in this era. Michael Jordan would do, in the 2020s, Michael Jordan would be a three-point shooter. Michael Jordan won't play defense because none of your top players make defensive teams. Remember, you're in a different era, a different decade, a different mindset of players. You already seen going into the 2000s, those weren't the mindset players of the 90s or the 80s. Just wasn't there for the most part. Yeah, you had some guys that did come in the 90s, but those guys that came in the 90s Guess what? They weren't the mentality guys of the 80s. A lot of guys that was playing in the 90s played in the 80s. But, yeah, Michael Jordan would have a whole different type of mentality, a different swag, everything. It wouldn't be the same Michael Jordan. He wouldn't have a coach. These ain't no coaches out here. They're just like stand-in, pat dudes on the back. They ain't real coaches. Get the hell out of here. You want to have real referees for Michael Jordan? So Michael Jordan would not have had 100 blocks in back-to-back seasons, 200-plus steals in 8 seasons straight. And maybe he would not have been playing with Pippen, Phil Jackson. You don't know how many championships Michael Jordan would have had, or MVPs. It could have been more. It could have been less. So those questions are dumb. You put Michael Jordan in the 2000s, the 2010s, or even in the 2020s. Michael Jordan is no longer Michael Jordan. There probably wouldn't be a Michael Jordan shoe. I mean, I guess it would, but it wouldn't be like we've seen it all this time. So LeBron James comes into the league with all this hype, all this nonsense from playing, grade school kids. Didn't play against the best of high school players in college. And now he's coming into the NBA where you're playing the best of the college players, right? And he doesn't make the playoffs. He doesn't even make an all-star team in what is the weakest East of all time. The weakest East of all time. Well, we'll just say, if you don't believe it's all time, let's go back to the 1950s. The weakest East system. You cannot pick out an East that was weaker from when LeBron James came in the league than the 1950s. So your excuse right then and there of not making an all-star and not making the playoffs is out the window. Is out the window. Out the window. Right? Why he shot 41% because he thought he could shoot on the perimeter. And they were like, no, you can't. He shot like shit from the free throw line. Shot like shit from the three-point line. And a bunch of turnovers, okay? That summer, he goes to the Olympics. This is the biggest. Remember, when we say these things, they mean a lot more than what people think. More than what Nick Wright has told you, or Shannon Sharp, or all these buffoons. Even Charles Barkley, this buffoon, because LeBron James has the greatest story. He had the most hype, and he came into the league. He didn't get in trouble. Kobe had to sit on the bench, and LeBron James went to the starting lineup. Who was stopping LeBron James from going to the starting lineup on that team? Or in the East? The most expectations, the most hype, all this stuff, folks. More expectations and more hype. Did who? Did who? Michael Jordan. I'm talking about coming into the NBA. More than Michael Jordan, more than Kareem, more than Wilt, more than Russell, more than Jerry West, more than Hakeem Olajuwon, more than Larry Bird, more than Magic, more than Kobe, more than Shaq, more than every great player that was coming into the NBA. Because they would like for you to think there was no hype, hardly, of any player coming into the NBA besides LeBron James. The draft meant nothing before LeBron James came into the NBA. The draft meant nothing. But suddenly LeBron James coming into the NBA out of high school, which would have been a joke. Nobody really thought of anything too much of a high school player coming into the NBA. Yeah, he got potential. But LeBron James had more hype than all the guys I ever mentioned. I mean, that I mentioned, or you could ever know before 2004. You can say after that too. Right? Right or wrong? So I don't want to hear nothing about this guy not getting any time in the Olympics. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And then had the nerve to get beat by Manu Ginobili, a 6-man Argentinian. A 6-man on the Spurs, folks, in this Argentinian plumbers. This is LeBron James. This is LeBron James. Michael Jordan ain't getting beat by no Argentinian plumbers. And guess who else was on that roster? Because they go, oh man, you can't just put that all on LeBron James. No. He's the biggest hype man coming into the NBA. He should be able to beat Manu Ginobili in the 6-man Argentinian plumbers. Why not? So we all know Allen Iverson was on that team. Stephon Marbury, Dwayne Wade, Carlos Boozer, Carmelo Anthony, of course LeBron James, Okafor was on that team. Sean Marion, Amari Stoudemire, Tim Duncan, Lamar Odom, and LeBron James' side piece, Richard Jefferson was on that team. Wow. Amazing. And Richard Jefferson has the nerve to run his mouth to this day about LeBron James and him getting beat by Manu Ginobili, a 6-man plumber. Really? In a bunch of nobody Argentinians? Wow. This is the legacy that LeBron James is setting for himself coming into the NBA. Ain't this the opposite? Michael Jordan put up all kind of stats. He led his team in all stats except for blocks. And led the league in scoring. And before the summer, he 2 months before he came into the NBA, brought home gold. Brought home gold in the Olympics. And matter of fact, that was his 3rd gold medal already, while being amateur. I think he won in the FIBA, the Pan Am Games, and I think that's the FIBA now. So I think it was 2 FIBAs in, what was it? They call them FIBAs now, but they call them something else. FIBA and something else, but they're both considered FIBAs now. In an Olympic gold medal. So he won 2 FIBAs in an Olympic gold medal before he came in. And notably, that gold medal right before he came in, like, what was it, a month? Hold on, when's the draft? No, I think he already went to the draft. Yeah, it was after he went to the draft. But I guess you could say a couple months before the season started in general. So, I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. Michael Jordan did the opposite. So the second year for LeBron James, he does what? He puts up pretty good stats. I think he put up like 26, 27, 6 and 7. He's pretty good. Wasn't that bad. Still, for some reason, shooting under 50% from the field, even though he's doing a lot of dunks and layups. And he don't make the playoffs. What's that all about? That East didn't get no better. It didn't get no better. What happened there? And if I'm not mistaken, it was that summer, not only did they get Larry Hughes, but the NBA did away with defense. Did away with hand checking and arm guarding officially. Suddenly, the next year, LeBron James makes the playoffs. And in the second round, blows a 3-2 lead going back home. All you got to do is win one more game. And he was going back home for the 6th game. And it was over if he won that one. He did it. He shot like hell. He goes to game 7. All you got to do is win that one. He did it. He shot like hell. So he goes on that summer, folks. And he has to play in the FIBA. Well, he don't have to, but he plays in the FIBA and does what? Same shit that he did in the Olympics. Melted down and choked it away. Melted down and choked it away. And again, like I said, folks, I'm not trying to put it all on him, but he's the greatest player to ever come into the NBA. The most hype, the most everything. So who was on that team? I'm not excusing none of them guys that was on the Olympic team. I'm not doing that. But this just shows you right here that these guys ain't even on the 90s level. And these are good guys on that Olympic team. Allen Iverson, Stephon Marbury, Dwayne Wade, Carlos Boozer, Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, Okafor, Sean Marion, Amari Stoudemire, Tim Duncan, Lamar Odom, and Richard Jefferson. I think that the cohesion wasn't there. Because this team should have been blowing out Manu Ginobili and his Argentinian plumbers. That was a disgrace for all these dudes, for all of them. Disgrace. Because what we're told is that 80s and 90s players are dinosaurs. They couldn't jump, they couldn't do this. And okay, we can attest that that's just how a lot of things are. A lot of dudes just got more athletic as the time went. But athleticism doesn't mean fundamentals. Fundamentals are fundamentals. You don't have to have athleticism for fundamentals. And that's what Ginobili in the plumbing crew showed him. You don't have to have athleticism to have fundamentals. A lot of those Boston teams in the 80s, I wouldn't consider them athletic as a lot of other NBA teams. I just wouldn't. But the fundamentals had these dudes looking stupid. Well, had their opponents looking stupid. Had them on skates. Had them looking foolish. So in the 06 FIBA, on that team, some of these names you guys might not even think was on there. Joe Jackson, Kurt Heinrich. We know LeBron was on there. Antoine Jameson, Shane Battier, Dwayne Wade, Chris Paul, Chris Bosh, Dwight Howard, Brad Miller, Elton Brand, Carmelo Anthony. Really? And they didn't lose to some Argentinian plumbers. It was even worse. None of these other guys played in the NBA that they lost to. So, truthfully, they just one-upped, or the 06 FIBA team just one-upped the Olympic team. Because the 06 FIBA team lost to Greece sewer workers. Right? At least we don't heard of Manu Ginobili, Scola. They try to use Scola as a real NBA player, dude coming off the bench and flip-flopping team to team and whatever. He's an NBA player. But what's that got to do with the 04 roster of the men's team, the U.S. men's team? And it's this one Ginobili in 07. This one Ginobili, in those times, Ginobili was still six man. This was 04. This was the 05 Spurs. This was the 07 Spurs with Ginobili on it. So these are some of the names, man. It's disgusting to think any of these guys could lose to a bunch of grease sewer workers. They got bronze. It wasn't like, oh yeah, we got silver, man. We got beat by really? So Kobe never came in 07. How many more years are we looking at getting beat? And it's a video of LeBron James on David Letterman, and he asked him, what do you think about, getting beat, blah, 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 this and that. This is the second time we done got beat internationally, something like that. But the way LeBron James acted was just like, we just got to get better. It's no big deal. That's it. God. Just imagine this. There's no damn way that most of them dudes on the Dream Team was 92. So we can say most of them was either in the beginning of their prime or nearing the end of their prime, or halfway through. Whatever you want to think for most of those players, right? With that being said, let's see if that Dream Team came together earlier in their prime. Because most of these guys were, I would say at least going towards the end of the prime. Because some of them came in at the early 80s. The mid 80s. Some of them early 80s. Let's just say that team came together. When would be the Olympics before? Would that be 88? I think 88, right? So let's just say if that team came, I guess maybe David Robinson could be on there. I don't know. Let's just say David Robinson will be on it, right? I don't think... Did David Robinson come in 89, right? I'm trying to think who else could be on that team. It will be tough for Pippen to be on there because he really didn't show nothing yet. I don't know. But for the most part, most of those guys would be on there. If that team came together in 88, ain't no damn 2004 Plumbers gonna beat that team in 88 with those guys on there. If we go to 92, ain't no 2004 Plumbers, Argentinians, or 2006 Greece team beating that team. LeBron James, from the beginning, until the end of his career, but from the beginning is what we're talking about now, has been a part of the biggest embarrassment in NBA history, sports history, there has ever been. Not only that, what it goes to show you also is that if they really had to play by the defensive rules of the 90s, these guys couldn't play. These guys wouldn't be these superstars. And that's why the NBA had to cut out defense. So now these guys could look better than what they are. And also, they don't have to be these, great two-way players. LeBron James could basically make all NBA first teams being a help defender. See, Larry Bird was one of the great on-ball defender, but he could be a good help defender. Which means LeBron James ain't making zero defensive teams in the 80s and 90s. Because they didn't cut out defense back then. And Larry Bird was still making second teams. Dan Marley was still making second teams. It wasn't like they cut out defense and then they were making second teams. They cut out defense for LeBron James era, and he was making first teams being basically a help defender. If that sometimes. But you look at some of these names on here, man, it's just crazy. These guys lost. So this is really the LeBron James era, guys, right? The Joe Johnsons, Kurt Heinrich, I think Antoine Jameson. When the hell did he come in? Still the era. The Shane Battier, the Dwayne Wade, Chris Paul, Chris Bosh, Dwight Howard, Brad Miller. I think Brad Miller might have came in before LeBron James. So did Elton Brand in the early 2000s. And Carmelo Anthony on that team. I don't ever want to hear nothing about comparing none of these guys to the 80s and 90s guys. Never. 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 It's what a joke. What a joke. It ain't like they just had to cut all these names. These are supposed to be great skill players. Look at all this offense we're talking about. Look, Joe Johnson, Kurt Heinrich was a solid defender, a good point guard. Antoine Jameson, a good scorer. Shane Battier, high IQ guy, good defender. Dwayne Wade, we know what he is. We know what Chris Paul is. We know what Chris Bosh was. And Dwight Howard, Brad Miller was a good post player, paint player, was a good passer for a big man. Elton Brand, solid player. And Carmelo Anthony. How do you lose, though? I don't understand. It just don't seem like whatever lineup you had on the floor, it just don't even seem possible to lose. I mean, because when we look at the first Olympics, we say, oh, it's some young people mixed in with some older people, and, everybody ain't feeling the vibe with, you got these guys with Allen Iverson and, a little bit older at that time, and, with the younger guys, and, Tim Duncan was a little bit older with the younger guys, and, whatever you want to make up the excuse. I don't know what the excuse was, but on that team again, you had Allen Iverson, Stephon Marbury, Dwayne Wade, Carlos Boozer, Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, Okafor, Shawn Marion, Amari Stoudemire, Tim Duncan, Lamar Odom, and Richard Jefferson. How is it even possible to lose to the Argentinian plumbers? Whatever lineup you put out there. The only way you can lose any of these, the 2004 Olympics or the 2006 FIBA, the only way that could happen, you want me to tell you, is if one, they weren't playing no defense. That's the only way. It will be a lack of defensive effort. Because those Greece plumbers and Argentina plumbers, they're just not better offensively. So they had to have some crazy defensive lapses. And from what I remember, yes. So that's 2006. Just a stained legacy. 2004 didn't make the playoffs. Goes to the Olympics, gets smoked by plumbers. 2000 didn't make the playoffs. Didn't have an All-Star. 2005 missed the playoffs. We could say it's a stain because they had to cut out defense. But 2006, blows a 3-2 lead going back home, losing 2 games in a row. And then that summer does this in the FIBA. 2007. Still hasn't made an all-NBA defensive team. I think, if I'm mistaken, LeBron James drops down this year to all-NBA second team. Or was it third team? It can't be third team. Let me see. So he wasn't even the best forward or small forward in the league that year in 2007, where he gets to the finals in diarrhea is all over the place. And a lot of people, they don't understand how deep this is. We can talk about the numbers. Yeah, LeBron James was pushed. I mean, what was he in 2006 then? 2006, he wasn't even on the damn first team. Let me see. No, he was. 2006, he was on All-NBA first team. And I think that was his first time. Because 2005, he was on the second team. 2006, he was on the first team. And then 2007, he goes back to the second team. Nevertheless, what's so incredible about this is the fact that, again, we go back to the biggest hype, the most expectations. And then we just talk about these prior years of him stating the legacy of the NBA through international play. And now he goes into the NBA Finals and does this. Folks, do you understand this? You're only going to hear it from this channel. That finals was the lowest ratings finals of all time. You know that, right? Yes. And it was lower. And I think Tim Duncan had the lowest NBA finals before that. And that's why people like to say, oh, because he was playing Tim Duncan. Whoa. Okay, you can say that. But it can't be the worst NBA finals if now the king, the chosen one, the one with the most expectations is in there. Because he had the lowest ratings finals with the Nets, if I'm mistaken. Either it was with the Nets or the Pistons. So that doesn't measure up to who you're supposed to be. This is what everybody's been waiting for. And in a sense, everybody knows back then, he really didn't earn it. He really got lucky. The competition wasn't that good in the East, and he didn't play any great competition. Nevertheless, he's here. The guy has been getting hyped since high school. The $100 million Nike contract coming into the NBA. The guy that's supposed to be the king. The anointed one. All this. And now you're in the NBA Finals. But guess what? Not only did you lose, nobody cared. Nobody gave a damn to watch this guy play. The lowest viewership of all time. That ain't what they're going to tell you. That ain't what they have been telling you about LeBron James in his early career. But by 2007, they spoke. The people spoke. The NBA fans spoke. They saw nothing in this dude that was interesting and captivating and dazzling and eye-popping that they said, we don't even want to watch him in the finals. There was nothing in 2007. Pop culture was good. Everything was good. But what they seen from this guy from 2004, 5, 6, and now 7, who cares? And it wasn't about, okay, he's going to get beat by Spurs. We're not even going to watch it. No. Because if anybody cared, they would have said, who cares if they're going to play the Spurs and get beat? We want to see this dude, who is that dude, go in there and put it on them. Put on an all-time great show. But guess what? It wasn't about that for the fans. They just didn't want to see this guy. There was nothing special about this dude. And what proved that? Him missing the playoffs, his first season, not an all-star. That same season, going to the Olympics, embarrassing the United States. And lost. 2005, don't make the playoffs in the weakest East. 2006, it was that he got beat in the playoffs. He did whatever. He blew a 3-2 lead going back home, breaking it up. We got to get that footage. Everybody coming out with all this other footage, we got to get that one too. And then go and get humiliated in a FIBA. So they damn sure didn't care to see this guy do anything in the playoffs. I mean, in the finals. Who cares? This dude wasn't like that. That's what we keep trying to tell you guys. Nobody cared back then like that. We're not trying to say you had to have the best ratings, the second best ratings, the fifth best ratings. But you can't have the worst ratings. You can have the second worst, fine. You can't have worse than when Duncan wasn't playing you. That doesn't make any sense. But what did make sense, and what they don't want to tell you that makes sense, is nobody cared about this dude. He wasn't that dude. 2008, same shit. Went to a game 7 and shot 39% for the damn series. With a whole bunch of turnovers. He shoots 45%. They beat Boston. Oh, the money, big three Boston Celtics. Nobody can beat them. Even though you took them to a game 7. 45%, that's it. It shoot, I think it was under 60, 70% from the line. It shoot 75% from the line, and you win that. We don't even need it. Like I said, we know about 2009, 2010. Best record in the league, MVP both seasons, is scared as shit to play Kobe Bryant. Scared. We all done found that out after the Boston series in 2010. Skip was on First Take the next morning, said he shamed Michael Jordan's 23, but he's happy because LeBron James told everybody at the beginning of the season that he was going to wear the number 6 the next season. Well, guess what? He wore the number 6 in Miami, so it was already premeditated that he was going to lose in that Boston series. And you probably could say in the Magic series too. Remember, the Magic beat Boston in 2009. Yeah. So how the hell he lose to the Magic if the Magic beat Boston in 2009? It's ridiculous. So LeBron James basically, what I'm trying to say is, I'm going to say a lot of stuff, but LeBron James basically ruined the NBA when he was in his first stint with Cleveland. Because they put everything into this guy. And we don't see the clips with First Take and all this. He ruined the NBA. And you can say the standard was lower then. It was lowered. Just these guys losing in the FIBA and Olympics, that's all together. I ain't talking about just LeBron James. All those guys lowered the standard of the NBA in the greatness. So for a lot of people, LeBron James' GOAT career, top 25 was over then. It was too many hiccups. He didn't do nothing but put up big stats in the regular season. That's it. He didn't do a damn thing in the playoffs when he was favored, or do a damn thing when he was an underdog against the big guys. He melted down. We didn't say you had to beat him, but he melted down against great competition. It melted down when he was the better competition. You can't say, let me build a super team and alleviate all this, and then I'm back on top. No, it's over. Actually, you made it worse. I don't know how you can make that worse, but yeah, I don't know. But that's what I'm like, really? How did any of those guys have a job, a lot of them? Even promoting the NBA and promoting this guy. After he did all that with Cleveland. And then he did that with Miami and Cleveland again? Wow. Wow. What do you say, folks? And that's why I say the debate that's going on, been going on for like 6, 7, 8 years, ain't a debate. It's some guys trying to be funny, like Nick Wright, Shannon Sharp, bait type of shit to piss people off. Because they don't care about basketball. They don't care about the legacy, the history, and nothing about the NBA. They don't care. They care about clicks and views. They don't care about truth, because guess what? Their era failed. So who cares? Who cares about the truth? You can't get nothing out of it now. The LeBron James era, forward, it was no greatness. If you really think about them getting beat in the FIBA, in the Olympics, and them coming back home playing in the NBA, what greatness? So that's all they can do. All they can do is agitate, irritate, and push fans who've seen greatness in the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, the 60s. All they can do is agitate us and try to be funny. But that's fine. Guess what? Nobody watches your era. Got the lowest viewership of all time. So instead of being real and not wanting all the trash that LeBron James and his era guys brought to try to get things back to where they could be, you basically helped destroy the game. Right? His fans that want to irritate, agitate, and all this stuff, they helped. They help. But like I said, they're not fans of the NBA. They're not. Most of them. They're just people with these platforms that saw, well, we can make a lot of money. We just agitate and irritate Michael Jordan fans. That's it. Ain't got nothing to do with nothing else. They don't care about the NBA. Because they basically know the NBA is over. I'm just telling you a story that it was over from the beginning with LeBron James. And the NBA was so awful. This still was their best player. Going to Miami. This was still their best player. Now, I don't know, I would say from since 2008, 9, it was their best player. Besides Kobe. Kobe was better, but this is all they had. Who else did they promote? They needed to get somebody up and going. Kobe was coming at the end. Kobe was coming to the end of the line. Sad, man. It's just sad. This is we grew up on a different image of the NBA in the 80s, the 90s. I don't know about the 70s and 60s, but to me, in the 80s and 90s, marketing was at an all-time high. Weren't bad in the 2000s, but it was just great in the 80s and 90s. And like I said, a lot of the guys that had nicknames, it went along with their style of play. Magic Johnson, Air Jordan, the Mailman. These guys like that. It went either went with their personality or it went with their game. Most of the time with their game. Okay, so I'm just saying, when you think about LeBron James, what game is that? When you say maybe he started this new stuff where you hear these guys with these names that ain't got nothing to do with their game. Ant-Man. What the hell does that have to do with your game? The Joker? What's that got to do with your game? SGA? I guess. I don't know. That's more like a nickname abbreviation. What's that got to do with your game? I don't know. And then you get to LeBron James, the king. The king of what? What's that got to do with a basketball game? So when you start to hear names like this, it has nothing to do with basketball. Damn, at least we see Bernard King. He was dressed up in a crown and the cape or whatever like that. Because his last name was King. But LeBron James, you calling yourself the king for what? What would you be the king of? First of all, you was never the king, and you never got the, king status in your career, except for people lying about your career, lying about you as a basketball player and your legacy. But what does king have to do with your game? It's ridiculous. That's how these guys got their names today. I guess from LeBron James, the way he goes. What does that got to do with your game? But like I said, I hope all these dudes, these content creators or whatever like this on all these platforms, that's putting out all this, fake information about, this fake GOAT debate between Michael Jordan and LeBron James. Be happy, bro. You just destroyed the NBA. And nobody's watching it. Nobody cares. It just keeps getting lower and lower ratings by the day. Because the people you take after, the Nick Rice, the Shannon Sharps, all these people that decide to push this, these dumb narratives just to make money or applause. But what we can say is that people watched our NBA. They cared about our players. Our players, try to hand the torch to the 2000s. And for the most part, a lot of these guys took the torch and they did good. But the LeBron James era going into the 2010s, and these guys didn't do good. If we remember that Dwayne Wade just won a championship and was a Finals MVP that same year when he went to the FIBA. So is that a damn curse having LeBron James on your team? I mean, because now you go to the FIBA that same summer, you just won a championship and you lose. You done lost already with him in the Olympics. And then in 2011, you lose with this dude again. Oh my God. This guy's like a curse. Manu Ginobili beats LeBron James in the 2004 Olympics, then beats his ass again in 2007 finals, and then beats him again in 2014. Goodness God. That's another thing. All these international plumbers in the FIBA, the Olympics, and a lot of these international plumbers that play in the league saying they beat LeBron James' ass up and down the court throughout the years. I mean, goodness God. They got all these stories with their children about the king. How they got his gold medals. How they got his championships. This is a story they're telling the grandchildren. Like, gather around. This ain't a made-up story. This is a real story about how we destroyed LeBron James, the so-called king. The guy that we've been hearing this GOAT debate about, and you probably will too when you get a little bit older. This is what they're telling in Greece, Puerto Rico, what do you call Argentina, Serbia. He got beat by Joker 2 years in a row, a sweep, a gentleman sweep, and Joker had no All-NBA, no All-NBA defense, no All-Star, no top 75 player on his team, and beat LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who were both. Who were all that? Well, LeBron James won all NBA defense, but still. How do you think those people feel back in Serbia about Joker? It's like the damn Michael Jordan of. And they got the nerve to promote this guy in the United States as if this guy is really something. LeBron James, you got... Wow. What a joke. This guy, he might be the biggest joke in sports. We know he's the biggest joke in the NBA history. But, like I said, his past is mysterious as far as his upbringing. But to me, it goes a little bit deeper as far as his bloodline. His bloodline might be a royal bloodline back in Europe. We don't know that. Because the way he has been, lifted up, pampered, when he got kicked in the ass all these years, they still promote this guy. We've never seen nothing like this. A loser, a meltdown artist, a choke artist, a flopper, a quitter, a cheater, and still gets pampered on a high level after all that. So, to me, it's something in this guy's bloodline. I'm a good genealogist. I'm scared to even look at it. I'm scared to look at, what I already know. But it's something other than, than what we've been told. Because ain't no damn way in this world this guy gets this kind of hype, recognition, second chances, all this stuff just for being LeBron James. Something deeper than that, guys. Is he part of King James, the Bible bloodline? We don't know that. Might be because he calls himself King James. Why would you want to call yourself a guy with that kind of track record? Wow. Remember what King James' track record was? Woof. If you don't know, you might want to read it. It wasn't good. It wasn't good what he did to people. So I don't know. Maybe he might be related to King James because, nobody can't really, say nothing, bad about this guy or, and go against him to the utmost degree. It might be bloodline, folks. And now that we know King James was a black man, spoiler alert. The only thing is, King James, I want his last name is James, so I don't know if it would be that unless the Stewarts and the James are related, because the James do come from a royal bloodline back in Europe. When you go look up the name, just like the Barclays. Why do you think they call Charles Barkley Sir Barkley, Sir Charles Barkley? Yeah, these fools know Charles Barkley comes from a royal bloodline back in Europe. Yep. And the Jameses do too. When you go look at it. Yeah, so LeBron James, his last name is from a royal bloodline, but it's not as royal as the Stewarts and some of the others. But I'll always, maybe they mix here and there down the line, and maybe he is related to King James. We don't know that, folks. Why would he just call himself King James? Because we know who King James is. That would be one of the worst names to want to call yourself with his track record. So, tell me what you think.